Hey guys, it's Breaking Brian back with another Night of the Seven Kingdoms review. This is going to be a double review, so we'll try to be as quick as possible. I was in Texas for about 10 days visiting my really amazing friend Adam. So yeah, guys, let's get started. We start with the HBO intro, of course, and then we see this weird gross thing, but it turns out it's just a stone wall. It pans over and we see Duncan is inside a cell during the rainstorm after he punched Prince, after he assaulted Prince Aerion Targaryen, and we see a mouse, a rat, trying to get in, and Duncan is trying to befriend it, kind of thing. Poor cute little rat, yeah, trying to get shelter from the rain and cold. So then we see Egg arrive in Duncan's cell with some guards. Duncan looks on, and the guards come, and some guy brings Duncan some food, and he has to be left alone with Duncan. Not really a good idea since he's on trial for he's been arrested for assaulting a prince. Sure, let's leave him with another prince. Uh, so, anyways, Ed kind of comes clean, revealing that yes, my uncle is the heir, the hand of the king, Prince Baelor. And Duncan is eating, and it's just like the heir to the Iron Throne and all that. And he even mentions like I never heard of a Prince Egg, and it's just like, well, it's short for Aegon. And we find out that it was his older brother Darian who shaved Egg's head because they were hiding out in the inn. And Egg gets kind of sad because he was just trying to, he sees that Duncan is mad at him, and he's just crying because he's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I just wanted to be a squire. I didn't want to be a squire for my brother. And he apologizes to Duncan and all that, but Duncan doesn't really accept Egg's apology. And then he decides to go see Baelor. And then meanwhile, we have here we have Baelor, and Duncan is brought before him, and he kneels and all that, and looks like Baelor is just reading some stuff, and he tells Egg to pour some wine and stuff and not spill it. Duncan kind of defends Egg, saying he's good and he apologized and all that, and Baelor kind of says that Aegon should have gone to him instead of Duncan when Aerion was assaulting the Dornish puppeteers. And Egg kind of says that he wished Duncan killed Aerion, and Baelor kind of corrects his nephew, saying that Aerion is your brother. The Seven Faith tells us that we have to love our brothers and all that. And then he tells Egg to leave, and then he leaves. So. So Baelor kind of mentions how Maekar, returned. He's coming back. We have to figure out this whole trial thing. And he mentions how Daeron told him this lie that, that Duncan kidnapped Egg instead of Egg ran away from the family to him. And Duncan kind of mentions how it was just 4 nights ago, that he met Egg. And so they talk about the whole treason puppetry thing. Baelor mentions how it was not really wise to do that, but obviously it's not exactly treason, or at least the consequences were much worse than the simple play, thanks to Aerion. And but he does mention to Duncan, you did strike the prince, which is a problem, and it's their family and all that. But Baelor actually even mentions how if he was in Duncan's place, he probably would have smacked Aerion. But he mentions he's a prince too. Duncan is not a prince. But Duncan kind of pulls out the hypocrisy of, hey, well, you're a knight, and all knights are supposed to defend the innocent. And what does it matter how it's done if it's a different person? Why is a prince knight get more rights than a low-born knight? When they swear the same vow, which is kind of interesting. So anyways, Baelor tells Duncan how Aerion would like his head on a pike, and everything, and then the accusation that he kidnapped Egg, and not to mention kicking him, and it just really doesn't look that good. So he's basically telling Duncan that we need to do a trial by combat. He asks how good of a knight are you? We get the intro, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So then we have Maekar, he's arrived, and we see Prince Aerion. He's just giving death glares to Duncan, and Duncan states that he looks at Aerion and says he wants a trial by combat. Also, Tansel and her family and all the puppeteers, they left for Dorne. But yeah, we see Lord Ashford, Lord Tyrell, Prince Baelor, Prince Maekar, and Prince Aerion, and a servant girl pouring some wine. And so anyways, he's using Baylor's plan. He's saying, I want a trial by combat. Arian tries to refuse, but Makar's like, you can't, it's the law. So because Arian knows he can't beat Dunk on a one-on-one fight, he asks, or at least he's not too confident, he asks for a trial of 7, which is, he says is his right, which is just basically another form of trial by combat. Baylor explains it. It was a long time ago. It's literally 7 warriors against 7 warriors, kind of like at random, 2 sides, that kind of thing. And Makar kind of calls out his son of just not killing the Hedge Knight now, Duncan being afraid and all that. But Arian kind of defends his point, and he's cracking nuts with, his dagger and all that. And he even tells Lord Ashford to go get the nut he dropped on the floor. It's going to be a trial by 7, unfortunately. And it's going to be held at dawn, which is just kind of crazy. It's like, can we have another day for this? But yeah, Arian doesn't back down. He's a 7 versus 7, and Makar grabs him and pulls him away. Lord Ashford, the Kletsius, hits his head on a table, and Makar insults his son, calling him an idiot in the hallway. And it's just that kind of happens. Yeah, Duncan asks if he can go, and then in the rain we have Duncan, who thinks like he's probably gonna die. How is he gonna get 6 more knights with him? And then he actually comes across Raynham, Fossaway. Who is surprised to see him, and he asks, and they go to his tent, and he's just kind of shocked. Duncan tells him the news, and they're telling his cousin Sir Stefan Fossaway, and Sir Stefan. This is surprising. He actually says to Duncan that he'll fight for him and all that. His cousin's not a knight, but he is, and says that Targaryens suck. He mentions that I'm not scared of Targaryens. They used to have dragons. Well, where are their dragons? They're gone. We have every right to fight back against Targaryens now, because they don't have no dragons. We have to fight back against them, which kind of surprised me. I thought that Sir Stefan had some honor, and he mentions how you won't die, Duncan, and he's gonna get more men to fight on his side. Then we see Egg coming in. And we actually see Daeron from the first episode, who's the one who lied. He comes in the tent, and Duncan once again assaults a prince, saying he should, just kill him, because he lied to, the princes about, Duncan being the one to kidnap Egg when Egg ran away, and Daeron just wasn't watching him, his brother, when he should have. But, he just mentions he didn't want to get beat by his father, so he lied. And even Raynham is kind of like looking at Duncan like, dude, like, how many princes are you gonna assault? Like seriously, like, you're in enough trouble as it is. That's kind of funny. So Daeron kind of just defends himself and says that, like, listen, I know what I did messed up, but I'll try to help you. And he says that during the trial by 7 tomorrow, he'll go down first, easy fight. He'll take himself out kind of willingly. Just don't hit him too hard. He kind of asked Duncan to go easy on him tomorrow. And Duncan kind of mentions how he's currently has, like, at the moment, like, 2 people who can fight for him. And then Ed kind of mentions how when he was little, Arian did a creepy thing where he threatened to, mutilate him, make him a girl, so that he could marry him, and, Targaryen incest. And, Raynham he laughs at that, which is like, dude, like, Duncan even kind of looks at him like, dude, like, that is not a funny thing. And apparently, Arian even killed Egg's kitty cat, cat, which is just messed up. Like, you do not kill cats. Daeron even says to Duncan, like, yes, my brother's a monster, he can be a monster. And so anyways, outside, Daeron is kind of telling Duncan what happened. The reason he was so mad at him in the first episode was he had a dream about Sir Duncan killing a dragon. He said that there was a dragon on top of you. You will be responsible for a dragon's death, which is a Targaryen. And he just hopes that, like, I just don't want to be the one. And he mentions the dragons are all gone, but they're still here, the Targaryens, as them and the family. And, he just, Daeron doesn't want to die, but, his life sucks, because he has nightmares and dragon dreams, and he's got a bad family, so he just, he kind of just parts ways from Duncan, and goes to sleep. And then Duncan kind of remembers Tansel, and goes to the tent. He comes across the broken stuff, and he looks at the helmet and all that stuff. And then he comes across the blacksmith guy, who tells him that Tansel left your shield, it's ready for you. So Duncan goes to check it out. So Duncan is going to go get his shield from the guy, and it's all done. The painting is done. He gives Duncan the shield, and Duncan is a little bit bitter about it because he thinks that it means he's gonna die, because the star is falling down, which is death. We see the elm tree and the sunset in the background, all that. But the blacksmith tells Duncan, like, hey, the elm's alive, shooting stars, good luck, maybe you'll win tomorrow, think positive, that kind of thing. And he only charges Duncan a copper for fixing up the shield a little bit, just because he wants him to win. So anyways, the servants are getting ready for the tourney tomorrow, the trial by 7. Duncan looks on, and afterwards we have Duncan, I guess it's already dawn, did he even sleep at all? But yeah, anyways, Duncan is just wearing his outfit, he's about to get ready, and he notices, the guys who are getting ready, we have Lionel Baratheon, and the guy who got crippled the last episode. They're all going to fight for Duncan. They have just enough guys, and Duncan thanks Lionel, and Lionel's like, hey, I want to bloody those Kingsguard of the Targaryens, and we have the small folk looking on, and Duncan looks on and sees Maekar and Prince Aerion with the horse's armor. We see a little kid here with looks like a toy sword. I don't know. But yeah, Duncan notices they only have six people, and then we see Stefan Fossaway with his apple armor, and he asks for his helmet. But Duncan mentions how, like, hey, we need our guy, we still are missing one, we're still missing one guy, and Sir Stefan reveals that he's not fighting for Duncan, he's fighting for the Targaryens, Prince Aerion, and Raymond kind of calls out his cousin for lying. You swore, you promised that you would fight for us, that was the thing, and Stefan kind of defends himself, saying that, well, the prince said he'll make me a lord. And it's like, dude, you just called out the Targaryens last night, and now you're going to be like, you know what, I'm going to serve them. Also, like, isn't he already a lord or an heir? Like, I don't know how that works. But yeah, Raymond pushes, he gives his cousin the helmet, pushes him away, and he's just done with him. He's just done, never wants to see him again for betraying them. It pisses me off. And then Raymond asks Duncan to knight him, because any knight can make a knight, and he says that, hey, listen, if you knight me, okay, we'll just need one more person. We can find someone. And but Duncan is a little hesitant, so Lionel offers to do it and tells Duncan to find them one last guy to make 7. So Lionel gets ready to knight Sir Raymond Fossaway. He's starting to do it, and that's it's pretty cool. So anyways, he's giving him the oath, and then Duncan looks up and then sees a weird hallucination or ghost of Sir Arlen looking down on him or something, and anyways, after that we have Prince Aerion and Duncan. They kind of ride up. He's asking for a little bit of time, and then he tells everyone that, Sir Arlen of Penetry, he taught me how to be a knight. He's talking to the crowd, and what's important is not sword and lance but honor. And he mentions, like, this is about the future, like, I'm an innocent man, can someone please fight for us, And Duncan even asks, has courage deserted the noble house of Westeros? No one is standing up for him. He just needs one more person. He's calling out to the crowd, and nothing's really happening. And we see one guy step up. He's called the Brute of Bracken. He's from House Bracken. Not sure if he's the Lord or whatever, but he stands up, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, he just farts. That's it, loudly. And we even have Red, who is the prostitute from a few episodes back. Even she kind of looks on, like, disgusted and like, that's not funny, whereas some people, some of the nobles laugh at the fart joke. So many fart jokes. And then Duncan just gets more mad, asking again, where's the true knight and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden we see a Targaryen show up, and then Duncan looks on surprised, and we see that as Baelor Targaryen. And he says that he is going to fight for Duncan. Everyone looks on, shocked, and Baelor even mentions that, like, hey, Duncan defended the innocent, and he's gonna join his side. And then he rides off, and then Duncan rides off with to follow Baelor. So yeah, and that's gonna be it for the episode. So then we move on to episode 5, and we have the seven in the circle. Everyone getting ready. Baylor is kind of leading them, telling them how best to get ready for the joust and the fight. Tells them how to be careful and to stay on their horses as long as possible. We see little Egg here with the lance. Raymond kind of throws up because he might die, and then Duncan even throws up too. Why is their throw up orange? Like, I don't know. And then we see this guy Beesbury, and it's just like, good lord, man, this guy's mustache, what is it, dyed or something? I'm sorry, but no, like that's a crime against humanity. Like, seriously. But yeah, Baylor tells him that tells everyone to not. He'll do it to Kingsguard because they will not physically harm him. They can't. So he says that he'll try to keep the Kingsguard busy because they swore an oath not to hurt the princes. So which he's a prince, so it's a loophole. So anyways, and Lionel even says, "Oh, your mother loved you best. You're the firstborn," as a joke. And then Egg hands Duncan his lance to get ready. And then we get a call back from like episode 2, I think, where Duncan is just like telling Egg, like, "Hey, you better be here when I get back, or I'll chase you with dogs." And then Egg, this time instead of being scared, he goes woof like that, whereas Duncan doing that in the previous episodes. So, and then we get the intro, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So yeah, Egg goes into the crowd, and we have the Septa or Young Septa. I don't know. I can't tell if this is a boy or girl. I'm sorry. Female, male, I cannot tell. I'm sorry. But yeah, she's just saying that this person is just saying that, like, hey, we are going to begin the trial. May the gods justly. And then we have Duncan putting on his helmet. He's very scared, having a panic attack. It's super foggy. And we have Daron, who puts on his helmet. He's very nervous. And then we get the charge. Everyone starts charging in. We have Lionel here, and Duncan is taking too long to charge. He is not going. So Egg shouts at him to go. And we have everyone getting ready. Duncan is falling behind. He didn't get enough speed, and he actually got hit by Arian, and he got stabbed with the lance, and he falls down. And yeah, so Arian got the first hit, and man, his armor looks sick. It's disgusting. It's amazing. But yeah, Duncan tries to pull it. He pulls out the shard, but unfortunately, his horse gets knocked over, and he falls down unconscious. And then boom, we get a flashback of young Duncan trying to steal some horseshoes from this dead horse after a battle near King's Landing, the first Blackfire Rebellion, and this guy is pinned on the horse, and he's trying to he's trying to call out to his mother, and Duncan, I don't know, for some reason just tries to silence him, or but his friend Rafe comes in and tries to get Duncan to stop, and from killing him. Maybe they can save him for money, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, though, they can't get the horse off of him, so that doesn't work. And then they try pulling him out of it, but unfortunately, that doesn't work either. So yeah, he's not gonna make it. And then she's just like, "Hey, do you know any words to say goodbye? Like, cause he's dying." And then no, Duncan doesn't know any. So then they're taking like the stuff they looted from the battlefield back to King's Landing, and Duncan's just a little despondent because he never seen someone die. And then we see I think a guy from House Stokeworth bringing a body back. They just came from a war, and Duncan kind of mentions how the war is over, the Black Dragon dead, and Rafe kind of mentions how the war is not over. There's always going to be something. It's going to go back and forth, just like, their friends did at Fleet Bottom. And she says that, when you hurt someone, they hurt you back, and it just goes back and forth. Basically, she's basically saying that we need to get out of King's Landing before it gets worse. And we see a lot of horrible things in Fleet Bottom and King's Landing. People are crying. People are being treated. There's babies crying. There's poor women in the streets begging for money, and it's terrible. Like, King's Landing is just in such a bad state right now. It's absolutely terrible. But Duncan and Rafe come inside, and they get this guy Alistair hounds them a little bit, asking what they have, and like, he's a gold cloak or whatever, but missing an arm. And but they go they get past him, and then she stole his at ale or something, but she pours it out because it tastes terrible. So then afterwards, they sell some stuff to the blacksmith, and for some coin. They're able to get some coin out of it, but he tells them that, hey, just get rid of the sigil of the Blackfire and leather, because I don't want it. That's a treasonous thing. I can't buy that, the kind of thing. So then they go to their home, which is just like a little crawl space in the basement or something, and Rafe kind of mentions how, we get some money, we go to the free cities, but Duncan kind of mentions a good point, like what if it's terrible in those places? What if it's hard to survive in the free cities too? They should go to Old Town instead, but she says, we'll just go somewhere else, because he kind of mentions, what if everywhere sucks, and then Duncan also doesn't want to leave because he's like, what if my mother comes back, looking for me? And, she tells him that, like, your mother is dead or never coming back. She doesn't want you. Like, I'm your family. Like, this is just how it is, So then the next day, they're going through the slums of King's Landing, so gross. And they come across a guy, I guess a dock worker or captain or something. They try to give him some money, but he says that it's actually double now to leave for the free cities. Tickets are twice as much as it used to be, which sucks. So unfortunately, they get kicked out and they're unable to pay. And then Rafe kind of yells at Duncan saying that you should be happy about this because now we can't leave. So your mother can now look for you, and then she apologizes because she knows this wasn't his fault. But then we get the guy Alistair coming back. He wants his wineskin, whatever she stole, but she says that she doesn't have it. He pulls a knife on her, and then Duncan is even held back too by some random guy. Like, dude, Duncan, fight back, But yeah, they take their so Alistair and his goon take their money, but then I don't know how he didn't notice this, but Rafe stole his knife, and then she tries to put it back. Not sure why they weren't trying to run. I don't know what she was expecting, but then Alistair realizes his knife was gone, and then grabs Rafe and her knife and then kills her. He cuts her throat, and that was just bad. And then she's dying, and then Duncan freaks out, biting Alistair, but he gets stabbed in the leg by some guy, and then all of a sudden Sir Arlen of Pennytree shows up drunk and just out of nowhere starts beating them up, kicking them, and he even decapitates the henchman of Alistair, feeds his head to the pigs, and then he's fighting Alistair, and like they're brawling, they're fighting, all that stuff, and then Rafe is still dying as Duncan is staying with her, and then they're still fighting, all that stuff, and Alistair is able to Alistair gets stabbed by Sir Arlen, and Duncan looks on, and he apologizes to Rafe, and then afterwards he's in the crawl space, but then he sees Sir Arlen of Pennytree leaving the city, and he decides, I don't know how Duncan's able to, he got stabbed in the leg, I'm not sure how he doesn't need that treated or whatever, but yeah, Duncan decides to follow him, and we see the three horses, and yeah, so anyways, we get a night passing, and then Duncan almost steals a sword, the horse, and helmet, but he puts them all back while Sir Arlen is sleeping. I'm not sure why he doesn't just go to talk to him, but yeah. So we have Sir Arlen leaving King's Landing, and we have Duncan following him. Another day passes. Duncan is not eating. He's not approaching Sir Arlen. He's not really sleeping much. He's freezing. More days are passing, more and more, like a week, and I'm like, how is Duncan not dead now? And Sir Arlen is just going crazy. He's getting drunk, shouting at the Dothraki about old battles. He's just losing it. And then in the next morning, Sir Arlen wakes up, realized he had his knife too close to him. He stabbed himself. And then he goes and sees Duncan, who's passed out, and tells him to get up. And then meanwhile, we have in the present, Duncan, his eye is all blackened, bruised and all that, and he gets up, and yeah, he's fighting Arion, and he's got the mace and all that, and Duncan gets knocked down. These Targaryen princes are fighting each other, not sure who's who, because there's like 4 in this battle, and 3, one of them's not Arion, but yeah. I mean, all of them are not Arion, you get what I mean. But yeah, it's just chaos, the lances, the horses everywhere, Duncan knocked down. We've got some mud wrestling going on. And then they're just fighting, their armor's covered in mud, and then Duncan gets stabbed again by Arlen, and Egg looks on. Just chaos, everyone's hitting each other, and Duncan even gets stabbed through the hand. He pulls out the knife. He even gets stabbed through the back. They're both exhausted, tired, bleeding. Duncan is stronger than Arion. Arion is a better fighter, and even Red is just shouting for Duncan as everyone kind of looks on. She hopes that he wins, which was a good character moment for her. I like that. So yeah, Duncan is fighting Arian some more. Arian is super exhausted, but he throws his sword, stabbing Duncan in the leg with it. And then Duncan takes off the helmet and he cuts Arian's thigh, nearly chopping off his manhood. And then they keep fighting. And Baylor freaks out seeing his son hurt. He hits his brother, Maekar. Maekar hits Baylor with a mace in the back, and then Lionel he gets his horse killed. His horse gets killed by Maekar, and then Maekar is shouting for Arian, but he gets held back. And then I don't know what's up with Arian's fingers. Are they broken or whatever? But yeah, Arian's just really hurt right now, and Duncan is standing up still, and Arian's still got some juice left in him. He takes off his visor, but unfortunately though, Duncan is pretty much gone. He passes out, face in the mud, as Lord Ashford and Gwen look on. Arian kind of stands as the victor at the moment, and he shouts at the crowd that he's dead. I won the thing. And then Egg is shouting for Duncan to get up, and they're about to blow the horn to sound off the end of the trial. But then the flashback with Sir Arlen is really well timed, and then all of a sudden Egg is just, the way he shouted, the actor did such a great job here, telling everyone to wait. And then Arian hears the music, and Duncan gets up, he uses a sword. He's not done yet. He's ready for the final round, and yeah, it's just he's no Joffrey. I'll admit that. He's a spoiled brat, but he knows how to fight. He doesn't cower in fear. And everyone is shouting to the small folk. Arian is super exhausted, picking up his sword, Duncan too, and they're fighting, they're wrestling. But Duncan gets the upper hand. He outmuscles Arian and starts beating him with his own shield in front of everyone. He's punching him. I'm not sure how Arian still has teeth left, but he says that he yields. And we see the cousins, Fossaway cousins, fighting. And Duncan drags Arian and in front of the crowd and tells him to say, "Hey, you yield. Tell him." And Arian says, "It's over. I withdraw my accusation. I lose. It's fine." And they sound the horn, and Raymond and the blacksmith bring Duncan inside, and he's super hurt. He asks if anyone died, and it was just like some random nobodies. But anyways, we have Baylor coming in, and he asks, so Duncan kneels before him. This is his time to shine. He now is a knight, and he won a joust or whatever, a fight. So this is Duncan's dream in a way, becoming a knight of House Targaryen. Baylor even says, "I need good men," kind of thing. And then he asks for Sir Raymond to remove his helmet because it's kind of stuck. His fingers feel weird. He's kind of tired, and Raymond kind of does that, but he needs help from the blacksmith. And Baylor kind of mentions how his brother hit him in the back. And then all of a sudden we see Raymond and the blacksmith look on, and we hear the weird slishing sound. And then all of a sudden, like, Baylor kind of touches the back of his head, and we see that the back of his head was caved in by a mace. So it turns out that when he was hit back there in the field, that the helmet was keeping his cracked skull from getting worse. And they removed the helmet, and basically Baylor has been lobotomized. And we even have the servant looking on, and it's so bad. Like, Baylor is he's just lobotomized at this point, and he collapses to the ground. Duncan is shouting, "No, get up, your grace." And man, what a sad moment for Baylor, man. He was such a Chad character. It's sad to see him go. Egg is sad. Everyone is shocked. Duncan is just apologizes to him, and then boom, the episode ends. Yeah, guys, so that's gonna be it for my review. Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you all then. Take care, guys.